The freezing rain lashed against the windshield of his beat-up sedan, each drop a tiny hammer on the metal roof that threatened to cave in his world. Inside, the smell of greasy Chinese food and desperation was a thick, suffocating blanket. Michael gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, staring at the towering, monolithic skyscraper that pierced the bruised, gray sky. It was a monument to everything he wasn't: wealth, power, and cold, unfeeling success. He was just a man on the edge, a single dad whose last chance was riding on the warmth of a bag of sesame chicken he was about to deliver to the penthouse suite. The building's doorman, a man in a crisp uniform who looked at Michael like he was a stain on the pavement, had finally given him a curt nod to enter. As the elevator ascended with a silent, unnerving smoothness, Michael's reflection in the polished steel doors looked back at him, a ghost of the man he used to be, haunted by hospital bills, a sick daughter, and the relentless ticking of a clock he couldn't stop. This delivery wasn't just a job, it was his final gamble. If you believe in the power of kindness, in the miracles that can happen when we least expect them, please show your support by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps stories like these reach the people who need to hear them most. The elevator chimed, and the doors slid open into a world of such opulent silence that it felt sacrilegious. The marble floors gleamed under recessed lighting, reflecting the soft glow of a single, massive abstract painting that dominated the foyer. The air was cool, sterile, and smelled faintly of expensive cologne and something floral. Michael's worn-out sneakers squeaked on the pristine floor, a jarring sound in the tomb-like quiet. He found the door, a massive slab of dark wood, and knocked, his heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The door swung open, and for a moment, Michael forgot how to breathe. The woman who stood there was breathtakingly beautiful, but there was a glacial chill in her steel-gray eyes that made the temperature drop by 10 degrees. Her name was Victoria Sterling, a name synonymous with corporate ruthlessness. She was dressed in a simple, elegant black dress that probably cost more than Michael's car, and she regarded him not as a person, but as a minor, inconvenient event in her day. She took the food without a word, her movements precise and dismissive. But as Michael started to turn away, a wave of dizzying despair washed over him. He saw his daughter, Ellie, her face pale against the stark white hospital pillows, her small hand reaching for him. He saw the latest bill, a sum so astronomical it might as well have been the national debt. He thought of his job at the garage, the one he was about to lose because he'd taken too many days off to be at Ellie's bedside. He was a good father, but he was failing. And in that moment of complete and utter ruin, a wild, desperate idea sparked in his mind. It was reckless, insane, and the only option left. He whipped around, his hand shooting out to stop the heavy door from closing. The woman's head snapped up, her eyes flashing with fury and a flicker of alarm. I need to talk to you," Michael stammered, the words tumbling out like a panicked rush of water. "It's about my daughter. She's sick. She has a rare condition, and I've spent everything I have. I'm about to lose my job, and the insurance won't cover her surgery. I don't have anyone else to turn to." He saw her expression harden, a wall of ice sliding down behind her eyes. He expected her to call security, to have him thrown out onto the street. He was just another beggar, another sob story in a city full of them. But Michael was out of options. He had to take the most dangerous gamble of his life. He met her gaze, his own eyes burning with a desperate intensity he barely recognized. "I know you have the power to fix this," he said, his voice hoarse and trembling. "I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for a trade." He saw a flicker of something in her eyes, curiosity, maybe, or amusement at his audacity. With a deep breath, he pushed the door open wider. "I am a man with nothing left to lose," he continued, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. "I have skills, I am willing to work, but I have no time for a conventional job. I will do anything. Just please, don't shut the door on me." Before he could lose his nerve, Michael stepped inside, the soft click of the lock behind him echoing in the cavernous, silent space like a judge's gavel. He had just locked himself in with a woman rumored to have a heart of stone, and he'd made a shocking, open-ended offer that he himself didn't fully understand. The silence between them was thick, heavy with unspoken judgments. Victoria didn't scream or call for help. She simply stared at him, her expression unreadable, the bag of food hanging forgotten in her hand. She walked past him, her heels clicking a slow, deliberate rhythm on the marble, and set the food on a sleek, glass dining table that offered a panoramic view of the city drowning in rain. The city lights were smeared into watercolors by the downpour, a metaphor for Michael's own blurry, shattered life. The tension was a physical presence in the room. Victoria picked up a remote and pressed a button. A soft jazz melody filled the air, an unnervingly calm backdrop to the storm inside the room. "You walked in here," she said, her voice a low, cool murmur, and locked the door. "You offered me. What exactly? Your service? Your loyalty? You don't even know me." Michael felt a bead of sweat trickle down his temple. "I know who you are," he said, his voice stronger than he felt. "Everyone knows who you are, Victoria Sterling. And I know that you're a person who values leverage." The moment he said it, he knew he'd hit a nerve. Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time, he saw a crack in the ice, a flicker of something raw and unguarded. It was pain. She turned away, walking towards the floor-to-ceiling windows, her silhouette sharp against the watery lights of the city. She spoke without looking at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "You think you know me because you read a few articles? You think you know what it's like to be surrounded by people who only see your wealth?" She let out a bitter, hollow laugh. "I am alone. I have built this empire from nothing, and yet, I sit in this mausoleum every single night, surrounded by silence and a fortune I can't spend." There was a profound, aching loneliness in her voice that was completely at odds with the ruthless image the media had painted. "My own family," she continued, her voice taking on a sharper edge, "abandoned me when I needed them most. They were only interested in me when I had nothing to offer but my potential. They didn't want me, they wanted what I could become." She turned back to face him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "The people I trusted have betrayed me. The love of my life left me for a younger model and a bigger share of my company. What makes you think I would ever trust a desperate man who breaks into my home and offers me his soul?" Michael saw the vulnerability behind her armor, the lonely child still hurting from a lifetime of rejection. In her, he didn't see the billionaire. He saw a reflection of his own desperation. They were both alone, both fighting battles that others couldn't see. "Because, Miss Sterling," he said softly, moving a step closer, "you have a choice. I don't. I am not a man with a plan, just a man with a dying daughter who needs a miracle. I can help you in any way you need, and in return, I'm asking for a chance to see my daughter live." The words hung in the air, a simple, raw truth. Something shifted in the room. The cold silence shattered. Victoria's composure cracked completely. A tear slid down her cheek, and she didn't bother to wipe it away. She looked at Michael, and for the first time, she saw him, not as a delivery man, not as a problem to be solved, but as a human being. "I was wrong about you, Michael," she whispered. "I was so busy protecting myself from the world that I forgot what it felt like to be a part of it. You have more courage than any CEO I've ever met." She walked towards him, her steps unsteady. "I don't need your service or your loyalty," she said, her voice thick with emotion. I need someone to remind me what it feels like to be human again, to have a family." Her cold, aloof exterior melted away, revealing a tender, vulnerable woman who had been starved of genuine human connection. She began to talk, the words spilling out in a torrent. She told him about her lonely childhood, the pressure from her parents to succeed, the betrayal by the one person she'd truly trusted. She talked about how, after her divorce, she'd built a fortress around her heart, a fortress that was now crumbling in front of this man who had nothing but a desperate prayer and a daughter he loved more than life itself. Michael listened, and he realized he was seeing a piece of himself in her. They were both islands, isolated by circumstance and pain, and in a desperate, unlikely moment, they had found each other. This simple act of vulnerability, a man's confession of his fear for his daughter, had unlocked something deep within Victoria. She couldn't change the past, but she could rewrite her future. "I have a lawyer," she said, wiping the tears from her face, a new determination hardening her features. "The best in the country. I'll have him draw up a contract. I will pay for your daughter's medical bills, all of them." She walked to a massive mahogany desk and pulled out a crisp, white checkbook, her hand steady as she wrote a number that made Michael's knees buckle. She tore the check out and handed it to him. This is an advance. It will cover the immediate surgery and a few months of living expenses. This is not a loan, she stated, her voice regaining some of its former steel, but this time, it was laced with warmth. It is a gift, and in return, I'm asking for one thing. Michael's hands were shaking as he took the check. Anything, he breathed. Anything at all. She looked him straight in the eye, her gaze softer now. You said you need a job. You need a purpose. What if I told you? She paused, taking a step closer, her eyes searching his face. That I need a partner. Not a servant, but a partner. A voice of reason in my life. Someone who can remind me of the simple things, like the sound of laughter or the feeling of a hug. I'm offering you a chance to be part of my world, and I'm asking you to let me be part of yours. I want to meet your daughter. I want to help you build a life where she never has to worry about anything again. In that moment, Michael realized that this wasn't just about the money. It was about a second chance at hope. It was about two broken people finding the missing pieces of themselves in each other. The shocking offer wasn't about a transaction of labor. It was about a transaction of humanity. He felt a powerful surge of emotion, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. His world, which had been a torrent of relentless pain and despair, had suddenly been touched by an unexpected miracle, in the form of a cold billionaire who had just proven to have the warmest heart. This is the power of vulnerability. This is the story of how a single, desperate act of opening up your heart can lead to the most profound and unimagined blessings. Michael looked at Victoria, the woman who had just become his unlikely savior, and nodded, his voice thick with emotion. I would be honored, Victoria. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of hope, resilience, and unexpected connections. Share your own experience of a time when a stranger's act of kindness made a difference in your life. What would you do if you were in Michael's shoes? We want to hear from you. Before you go, we have a special request. In the comments below, tell us one word that comes to mind when you hear the phrase second chance. We will read every single one.